They queued for hours to watch an old man bid farewell. Inside the hall, anticipation had been building all evening.
I would like to introduce my father, your 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
And when he finally appeared, it was nearly midnight on the East Coast, past much of America's bedtime. But Joe Biden was determined to savor this bittersweet moment.
Thank you.
Before he even spoke, 5 minutes of adulation. Nothing became him in the election campaign like the leaving of it. And whether it was guilt or gratitude, both were measured in applause.
It's been the honor of my lifetime to serve as your president. I love the job, but I love my country more. And all this talk about how I'm angry at all those people who said I should step down, that's not true. Selecting Kamala was the very first decision I made when I became our nominee. And it was the best decision I made my whole career.
It was the strangest of political breakups, but in the end, the most gracious.
She's tough, she's experienced, and she has enormous integrity, enormous integrity. Her story represents the best American story. And like many of our best presidents, she was also vice president. That's a joke.
The illustrious ghosts of elections past also made an appearance. Hillary Clinton never recovered from the shock of losing to Donald Trump.
Nearly 66 million Americans voted for a future where there are no ceilings on our dreams.
But now she thinks Kamala Harris can succeed where she had failed.
With faith in each other and joy in our hearts, let's send Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to the White House.
What has struck me on the floor is that this election is less about class or race, but gender. Trump channels resentful masculinity. Harris appeals to the America that yearns for unity and embraces the other. Hence the black country music singer or the drag queens here. Last night, a brief taste of the campaign to come.
People from every corner of our country and every walk of life are here, united by our shared vision for the future of our country. And this November, we will come together and declare with one voice, as one people, we are moving forward.
Do you think America's ready for a woman president?
Absolutely. We're more ready than ever.
But you weren't ready in 2016. What's changed?
Well, they have had a chance to get prepared more and be ready for her.
We're going to make history again.
What makes you so confident?
What makes us so confident is the person that we run it against is not qualified to run, and the more he keeps talking, the more he's going to knock himself out of the White House. Kamala's going to make it in there. She's going to be the first woman in there.
Is this about Trump messing up or Kamala doing good?
Both.
It's easy to forget that until a month ago, this could have been an open convention with rivals vying for the top two jobs. We spoke to one of them, the charismatic governor of Pennsylvania.
Are you disappointed that you're not on the ticket?
No. Listen, Kamala Harris made a great choice in Tim Walz, and I'm thrilled I get to continue to serve as governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, chart my own course and have a meaningful impact.
Support Kamala Harris?
Oh my God, of course. I did.
Of course.
Absolutely. They're wonderful people.
And if they don't win, what happens to America?
Well, they're going to win. We're going to make sure of that. We're going to work hard together. Thank you.
Back on stage, the Bidens, including wayward son Hunter, will now drift off into history. And she tells her old boss, "I love you," as he steps aside. Now it's up to her to convince America. And as breakups go, this one could have been so much messier.
Well, I'm joined now by Terry Zuplat, a former speechwriter for Barack Obama and author of the upcoming book, Say It Well. Thank you very much for being here, Terry. How different is this moment in terms of the feel in the party, the feel in the country to the moment when Barack Obama made his debut on the stage here?
Well, I think actually, I'd say there's actually a lot more in common right now, what we have. I think what we've seen over the past month has just been a surge in energy and optimism and hope around the campaign. And that's, a lot of people have commented, it's very, evocative of Obama's campaigns.
And are these pent-up feelings, of positivity that had been dormant for such a long time, both within the party and within the country?
I hope so. I mean, the American people had expressed a lot of concerns about a race between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, and we have something different now. So I think what we're seeing is again an energy and an opportunity for Kamala Harris to kind of reshape the race, which she's been doing.
So when Barack Obama rose to prominence, actually it was with a speech at the Boston Convention where John Kerry was crowned, where he made that famous speech about there are no red states, no blue states, there are purple states. It was that appeal, that emotional appeal to unity. But it was about his words. And of course, at the same time, he'd written that book, The Audacity of Hope.
That's right.
For Kamala Harris, it's not really about words, is it? Because we haven't heard that many of her words.
Well, I think one of the things that made that speech so powerful was he did something that effective candidates and leaders do, which is you marry your biography to the moment, and you embody your message. And so the message that Kamala Harris is delivering this week about an America where that welcomes all people, that has opportunity for all people, her life story embodies that. So I think there's an opportunity for her to really, I would say to do her own version of that.
Okay. So if you were writing her speech, as I'm sure you are in your mind, your fantasy speech for Thursday when she gives it down there, what's going to be the killer line that will unite America behind her, that will win at the election?
Right.
No pressure, Terry.
One of the things that Barack Obama was always talking to us about was he knows that speechwriters tend to get consumed by trying to come up with the perfect line. And he wanted us instead to come up with a better story. He said, get the story right and the lines will follow. And so as a speechwriter, what I'm looking for this week is a powerful story from Kamala Harris. And I think, she has one in her life. And the more personal she can get, the more stories she can share from her own life to help the American people know her, who she is, what her values are. I think that would be an effective use of this week in her speech.
The temptation for Democrats, and some call it the Trump derangement syndrome, is to focus on the negative on the other side, to focus on Trump. How much would your speech written for her focus on Trump? How much would it focus on her?
The vast majority, I would assume, of her speech will focus on her vision, her values. That's what the American people are looking for. Yeah, she actually just gave a pretty major speech in North Carolina last week. I think that's a great template for probably what we're going to see here. Very clear about what she wants to achieve, what her vision is for the country, and occasionally contrasting her policies with Donald Trump. But ultimately, great candidates, great leaders give voters something to vote for. And so I think one of the things you're seeing already in the past month is, sort of the hope and the joy and the optimism. That's sort of the spirit that I'm seeing here. If she can bring that into her speech, that's a winning message.
It's interesting, isn't it? We're far more cynical in the UK, but here, there's a lot of soppy, nostalgic politics. But it's
all
always
that hope.
All that hope, right? hope he changes stuff and so on.
That's the hope that kills you, right?
Right. But at the same time, that nostalgia is very American. That nostalgia for an idea that may have got lost, for the republic that no longer is. Does that still work in these toxic, divided times, or does it work even better now?
Well, I think the country's been through a lot in the last 10 years, and I think there's always that, and I hope there always is, because if we do lose hope, then what are we here for? What are we doing? Either you believe in a country that welcomes people from all over the world, that welcomes people of diverse backgrounds, where people have an equal opportunity to succeed, or we don't. I think that's a pretty powerful vision. It's carved in, a version of it is carved into the Statue of Liberty. I think when we lose that, we cease being American. And so I think any candidate who can tap into that in a genuine, authentic way, and where their own life story lifts that up, I think that's a winning candidate.
You're still writing that speech.
That's right.
Terry, thank you very much indeed.